Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday night's edition of Paranormal Question of the Day. We'll be right back right after a short intro. Hey everyone, this is Darren Buss for Paranormal Question of the Day. Tonight's guest is Steve Dills. He's from Transcend Paranormal, so we'll get to learn more about Steve and his group and all the locations they've been to in the past and present. And we'll also talk about upcoming stuff for them as well, and maybe learn some new techniques tonight. So, other than that, grab a soda, grab some beer, grab some popcorn. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're coming up next. And we are back. So, it's another lovely Monday. No snow today. How is it out there by you?
No snow. I'm okay with it. It was like 50s today, so it's good. It's
Lucky
good.
you.
Better than no snow. Now, like I was telling you earlier, it was like 77 like 2 days ago. And if it could be that, I'd be okay with it. I'd be happy with that all
Right, right.
year. Be good.
All right. Hey, Rob, how you doing? Welcome. So,
Oh, it's
tonight,
Rob. How's it going, Rob?
yeah, I believe that's the first time he's been in chat, so welcome.
Welcome, Rob.
Um, Anyhow, so tonight we have Mr. Steve Dills with us from Transcend Paranormal. Hey, Thomas, how you doing?
Oh, it's Thomas, the guy that outbid me.
And Penny.
I will forever give Thomas shit.
Uh,
Oh
so
my god.
for all newcomers to the show, I welcome you to the show. I'm up here in Wisconsin, so I get all the crappy cold weather and cheap. Yeah,
You see this? You see what I get put through?
right, right.
This is
Hey,
this
better
is
you than me.
mental torment. I feel attacked right now,
uh,
Thomas.
and Mr. Steve Dills is from Virginia, so he gets all the nice weather out there and everything
Some
else.
of it.
Yeah, well, a lot better than what we get, but.
That's true. This is true.
So, for those of you who don't know who Steve is, Mr. Dills, would you like to tell people who you are and how you got into the paranormal?
Sure. So my name's Steve. Hello, everybody. Um, let's see about me. What do we say? I'm in IT. I work in IT, so I work on computers all day. So that's my fun. Um, I also love to game, so I do that quite a bit. But other than that, let's see, paranormal. Thanks, Paige.
Hey,
Um,
Paige.
other than that, that's Pete Schnitz. I call her Pete Schnitz. So other than that, paranormal wise, well, actually not paranormal wise. I do have a wife and two kids, and we're going through a little bit of potty training right now. So I close and lock the door for you, Darren. By the way, I don't do this for everybody because sometimes my 2-year-old son runs butt ass naked behind the camera, and then the shows get banned. So I have locked the door for you. This is what I've done for you, Darren.
That's good. That's good. I
Oh, thanks,
appreciate that.
Rob. so, uh, so yeah, so it's fun. It's a little bit of a messy time in the house, but that's okay. We're gonna get there. And by there I mean to the toilet one day.
Oh yeah.
Um, let's see, paranormal. So I got into the paranormal actually when I was pretty young. And I feel like a lot of folks have the same kind of thing where like they were young, they were a kid, and they experienced something that scared the ever living shit out of them, and then here they are, weird like all of us. And so I got into the field. Well, I got into the field probably in college because that's when I first got a car, but it stemmed from uh, actually the very first house that we moved into when we moved to Virginia. So like I was saying before, I lived up in New Jersey, I've lived in Pennsylvania, and then my parents, my dad had a job opportunity, and so moved the whole family down here to old Virginia, and this is where I grew up for the rest of my childhood. and we found this house. We had to quickly move down here. Found this house. It was a brand new build, but it had been sitting on the market for a while, and it was the weirdest layout I've ever seen in my entire life of a house. Um, like I swear to God, I couldn't even begin to explain how weird this house was, and like it didn't make sense. Like where you'd think there would be things is not where they would be, and it was just it was a dumb house. And so we lived there for 2 years, and as I like to say, 2 years too long. um it was very active from the get-go. I immediately became sick. I was sick for probably 6 or 7 months. And that, would go to the doctors. Hey Jim, how's it going? Hi John.
Hey,
We would
Jim.
go to, the
Hey,
doctor's office,
John.
all sorts of things, and they would find nothing wrong with me. But I had like no appetite. I was not eating. I was feeling sick, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, During that time, I started hearing things in my bedroom. And so this is young baby Steve, as I like to refer to him, baby Steve. And so baby Steve was hearing his name being called at night, whispered into my ears. Um, that eventually escalated. And it was like yelling into my ears, which was fun. I would have my bedroom door open and close. I'd have my closet doors because they were like the bifolds,
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd have those open and close. Um, I'd hear like a piano playing, and granted, we had a piano, but if anybody was playing the piano at 3 a.m. in the morning, um, you would get beat. My mother had this wooden spoon. I don't know if you've ever felt the wooden spoon
Hockey
treatment.
stick.
I would have, I played hockey, so I would have appreciated a hockey stick. No, we had a wooden spoon, and it was the same wooden spoon that she would use to make like spaghetti and shit. And so, like, the spoon
Spaghetti and
giveth and
shit.
taketh
Oh, that
away. Yes,
sounds pretty appetizing.
the wooden spoon giveth and taketh away because it would make delicious pasta, and then if you
Hey, Stacy.
if you were bad, you would also get beaten with it. So it was great. How's it going, Stacy? And so so yeah, nobody was playing the piano at 3 a.m. in the morning. Um, and so this kind of like got worse and worse and worse and worse, and scarier. Like one of the instances that I remember very frequently was a doppelganger, but it
Mm.
wasn't of a person like we would normally think. It was actually our family dog. And we had
Oh,
a very
wow.
unique dog. It was a Sheltie Collie mix, and he was supposed to be very tiny, and he was very not tiny. Um, and he had a very unique, like, I guess, color pattern in his hair. And so I would frequently see the dog, and for example, I went outside to play in the front yard one day, and we were in a neighborhood. It was a typical neighborhood, nothing crazy. And I saw the dog, you know, basically come around as if he was around in the backyard. And I'm like, well, that's weird because normally, we're in a busy neighborhood. He would be leashed up so that he's not out in the middle of the road getting hit or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, hey, you got to go inside. So I kind of like, I didn't touch him, but I kind of like ushered him to get in to the garage. And so I was like, all right, good enough, job done. And then I was like, well, crap, like maybe the downstairs door is not open. Maybe he's still sitting in the garage. So I went into the garage, dog's not there. I went into the basement, dog's not there. I walk upstairs, and the dog, Andy, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Andy.
Um, the dog is sitting on the couch with his head on my mom's lap, and he's asleep. And I remember talking to my mom and being like, "Wow, I'm surprised that he fell asleep so quickly." And she's like, "He's been sitting here for at least an hour on my lap." And so that was just the first of like numerous experiences with the Doppel dog. Like
Wow.
I would see him in the basement, and then all of a sudden I'd hear him upstairs on the second floor or whatever. It was weird. Um, and so I had all of that. I had objects moving around and being thrown at me in my bedroom. Um, One of the scariest things that occurred to me was this big red orb. And I was so we're gonna get it a little bit of a TMI here because I love sharing information. Um, I was taking a shower in my parents' bathroom, and it was they had the cool shower. What's going on, Ernie? Um, they had the cool shower. You know, it was like the big glass doors and everything, and so it kind of had like that cloudy look. So you could kind of see that there was like something out there, but you couldn't
Mhm.
make out what it was. You can just see like something moving around. And so I'm standing there taking a shower, and I look, you know, out the door, and I see this what looks like this big red mass. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. And so I open the door, and literally in the doorway of the bathroom is this giant red orb, like the size of a basketball. And it scared the shit out of me. And so I did what any respectable uh, person or individual would do. I screamed and then I cowered in the corner of the shower. and and so my parents run upstairs and like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, uh, you know, before they bust into the door, into the bedroom door because it was like the master bath, right? This thing flew out of the bathroom and it took a sharp right into their walk-in closet.
Hmm.
And so that flies out and into the closet. My parents bust in and they're like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Dad," because I'm like, "I saw something. And it went into the closet." My dad's like, "Well, I'm going in to see what it is," and I'm like, "Don't go in there, Dad! Don't go in there. You're gonna die!" And so I'm freaking out. My mom's freaking out. My dad's like, "F this. We're gonna go see what's going on." And of course he finds something in the closet. But like it scared the shit out of me. Like as a kid, I was deathly afraid. As an adult, it's fun to laugh at now, but like back then, it got to the point that as a kid, I didn't want to go home.
Mm.
I, there are very few kids that at least including myself, knew that like loved school. And so, if it was like, oh, go to school or, go home and play video games and play with your friends, obviously, go home and play video games. And I never wanted to because I was definitely afraid of that house. And so, uh, Andy was the same. Andy, were you the red orb? Andy, was it you? Um, could you imagine?
Oh, jeez.
And so, it scared me, right? Like this was not a place of safety. And I feel like a home should be a place that it's your shelter from the world, right? It is your safe space. It is where you can relax and be you. And I'm sorry, Andy. I thought you came and visited baby Steve. Um, but that is kind of, I guess, what led to me getting into the paranormal is I experienced this thing, right?
Mhm.
It was 2 years of an absolute nightmare for me, and my parents, my family all had experiences too, for whatever reason, not as in depth as me,
Mhm.
but they all had experiences as well, and so that obviously immediately lit a spark, maybe of fear for the first bit, but that kind of grew to interest and intrigue, and then I realized, hi Heidi. Um, I was like, well, you know, what is this? What happened? Why did this happen to me? And so I started asking all the questions that a lot of us end up inevitably asking. And when I got into college and I got a car, I found a local group and started investigating. And so investigated with them for a little bit, and there are some interesting stories that go alongside with that. But I very quickly realized that I wanted a serious group of folks that would investigate alongside of me, and we could explore this and kind of unpack what's going on.
Mhm.
Um, and so I found some folks, and we did that for a little bit, and then I kind of realized like maybe I can take this a step further where it's not just me kind of satisfying my own curiosity, but maybe helping other people and making sure that if somebody else in the community is experiencing this where they are deathly afraid to go home, that's not their safe haven, maybe I can, shed a little bit of light. I'm not saying that I'm going to be there to solve all the world's problems, but maybe I can kind of help some folks understand what's going on a little bit. I mean,
Right.
I feel like there's a whole lot of not understanding what the paranormal is, and that's why we love exploring it. But maybe I can make somebody not feel so scared to go home. And so that's how Transcend Paranormal was formed. And way back in 2000, and I think it was 10 is when we formally organized. And we've just been rocking ever since. We started off as 4 people, I think it was 4 or 5, and we're now to 23, which is a pretty large size for a team. But
Wow.
we all get along really well, and we all mesh like really well. So I love it. And we all support each other. All of us has our own kind of like endeavors. One of the things that I do with Rob here is I'm on the TV show The Ghost Finders, and so Rob brought me on about, I guess it was 2 seasons ago, Rob, right? Um, and been filming with them and traveling in the country, which has been amazing. And then Chris and I, one of my teammates, started up something called Eerie Encounters. And so where the Ghost Finders is my kind of a serious approach to the paranormal, and really diving in and examining and understanding history and trying out some different ideas and styles of investigating. Eerie Encounters is my, I guess, my comedic relief.
Hmm.
And so Chris and I are pretty dumb with each other. And so we just film it. Like we'll go into a location and we're just absolutely dumb. We'll drop like the most ridiculous dad jokes and see what we can get. And then and then we film it and we cut it, and it's on YouTube. So it's like super super. I call it potato quality, and I love it. It's endearing. And so we do potato quality, and it's great.
Wow. Well, I mean, you got to start somewhere. I mean, you got to have fun with it at some point. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, you can't be serious all the time, obviously, because if
No,
you're serious all the time and it's become more of a job, or, you know, do I want to keep doing this,
yeah, that's the thing. I feel. Oh, thank you, Rob. I got all this red lighting, but I'm blushing. Um, that's the thing that I always, we take it very seriously, and with my team, we definitely approach it very seriously because we want to help people, or we want to. One of the big things that we do is we partner with historic locations and we fundraise for them,
Okay.
and we have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for various historical locations over the years. And we take that very seriously, but we also like to have fun. If you come to one of our events, we're always joking, we're always laughing, we're always having a good time. Aw, thank you, Thomas. Um, we like to have fun, right? And that's the big thing, is like, this is not a job. I have a full time job. This is a passion. This is a passion project of mine. This is something that I want to do.
Right.
And you know, it is an anti job because I put more money into it then. I mean, I make zero money out of it, so it's just a black hole of money, just going in on equipment and locations and all these sorts of stuff. But it's worth it, and it's fun, and I get to meet some amazingly weird people, also amazing people. Uh, so
Watch
so it's
yourself with
great.
that one.
I got both classes. Got the amazingly weird and then the amazing. So but it's fun. I love it. I love it. I love what I do, and it's good because there's a good community around here, and there's good folks out there that I'm friends with, and I consider family. So
No, I mean, and that's the thing about it. I mean, you got to really like what you're doing. Sometimes, yes, there are hiccups in the paranormal field. You got people that like to fight with each other. They you know, uh, and that's stuff that I really don't care for in the
hmm
field of stuff.
see, there's my weird amazing people right there, Stacy.
And lately I've kind of heard that it's kind of, people are fighting with each other lately again, and it's like, you know, you gotta start growing up. We're all here for the same thing. Um,
hmm
whether this person has this device that works, and if you try it and it works, well then, yeah, it's a plus for everybody because you're getting the same kind of data.
Yeah, and I feel like the big thing around that is, I'm huge on, like, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? The really neat thing about this field is there's lots of space for all of us, right?
Hmm.
I work with teams like CPRI that are very scientific driven, and they are collecting data, and they're looking for anomalous spikes in data points. And I find that absolutely fascinating. I love looking at the data. If you give me some DVR footage, and then you send me some environmental data, and I can look at spikes in barometric pressure or ionizing radiation along with no, you know, I love they're great. But if I can look at these things, right, and I can say, okay, well, there is some preternatural activity, some experience that occurred, and it also correlated with a spike in barometric pressure, a spike in ionizing radiation, a spike in whatever.
Hmm.
Um, that's really, really neat, right? Because not only do I have an experience, I have tangible proof that I've experienced something, right? I
Right.
can say, look at this. I've got this, and I've got this that supports it, and that to me is absolutely wild. I love it. And then you can also approach it from the historical side of things,
Hmm.
and we do a huge piece of that in Transcend, and also the Ghost Finders is sharing the history, sharing the stories, and utilizing that history and story to build context around the hauntings of at a location. I'm huge on you need to understand the history of a location to understand the hauntings of a location, right? You can go out and you can see some a woman walking through a room, or hear a scream in the third room on the right down that hall. That's great, but what's the context around that? How does that fit, right? Like,
Right.
it's great, you get the adrenaline rush, but why now? And so I feel like a big piece of that is what occurred there. What is the
Mm.
history, not just of the building, but its inhabitants, its patrons, its guests, whatever you want to call it. um
Location, what's been there before it.
exactly. And then I also like to approach it and see it from the metaphysical side too, because we have some really, really great, psychic mediums, not only on Transcend, but working on the Ghost Finders with Rob and Patty Negri. It is really, really cool to see what they pull, and then it correlates with an EVP, or it correlates with something, right? And now whatever they've experienced, whatever they've had,
Hmm.
I can say, hey, I got something that makes sense contextually. This fits.
Hmm. True. Paige has got a question here.
Look at
So
Paige throwing out the hard ones.
I never I've never had a ghost experience. Why don't ghosts like me? Well, I mean, it all depends, Paige. It could be the location, it could be personality, it could be your energy, it could be a lot of things. It's not just in general. You might find a location that they will just attach to you. It's
And I
just
think it
finding
also
that
probably has a bit
location.
to do with you yelling at me while we play video games all the time, Paige. I don't know, maybe. No, I'm not sure. I'm just kidding. Uh, no, I think it could be. One of the big things that I always like to tell folks, especially when we're doing events, is it's very much so like the weather. Sometimes it's going to rain.
Yep.
Sometimes it's going to be very sunny. Sometimes you might get a little sprinkle, right? And you might get a little bit of something. Um, you never know what you're going to get. And I know some folks will say, "Well, it's the full moon. That must mean paranormal activity." I mean, I it's hard for me to say that all correlates. I
It
in
depends.
fact, especially like I've had some folks that have reached out to me. So one of the places that I work very closely with um, is maybe my energies. That is true. That could be true. No, Paige, come to Virginia. We'll get you. We'll get you to do some spooky stuff. Um,
Be careful, he might make you do cartwheels.
We could we could do that. But I had so one of the locations that we work very closely with is the Hanover Tavern. And I always like to talk about it. It's my favorite place, unbiasedly. Has nothing to do with me being the president for the last 3 years of the nonprofit that owns and operates it. But I have had folks reach out to me and say that they would like to investigate the tavern, but and so I'll set it up and I'll say, okay, here's the timeline that I want to, that you have to investigate, and they'll be like, well, this ends at 2 a.m. or this ends at 3 a.m. But everybody knows that the ghost hour is 3 a.m. That's when you get the most activity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like really? Because I've been investigating for like 15 some years now, and I have had some of the most interesting experiences and most defining experiences for me have occurred midday. And I don't know that 3 a.m. is like the magic number and everybody comes out to dance.
I don't
Um
think so either.
I
But
do,
it's
Kelly, think it does if there are a number of peacocks. I know at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash there's at least one peacock there, and that does make a huge difference. We get a lot of activity. Now, compared to all the other places that I investigate, and there have been a lot of lacking in the peacockness, then then we don't get as much activity. So I think it may be the peacockery, Kelly.
could be. I've never been out to Gettysburg yet.
You gotta come to the bash. Kelly has a beautiful impersonation of a peacock.
Wait a minute. How's that go again? How's
Oh,
that
I'm
go?
not. I'm not. I'll see what I can do. I like it. I think you should come. I think it'd be great. Andy says, "Do you have video proof?" There is a potential that one of us on this live stream between Darren and I has video proof of the peacockery. Um, so I don't know. Uh, but that is vaulted, sir. That is vaulted and it's sealed. It's gonna be used for purposes if I need to extort Kelly for any reason.
Blackmail.
Like, see,
Blackmail. Shit.
but yeah, I don't. I think going back to kind of Paige's question, I think energy does bring a huge piece to it. I think also just being aware and being present, right? We go about our days so very, we're either in our own heads or we're busy rushing from point A to point B, or most of the people I pass on the street have this, and they're just like, and how could you experience anything if you were just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Um, and so you know, who's to say that we aren't having experiences throughout the day that we're just not aware of because we're not paying attention, right?
Right.
One of the really God, I can't say really coolest. One of the most interesting experiences. Hey, Katie, how are you? One of the most interesting
Welcome to the show.
experiences I had was at oh gosh, what is it called? The Scares That Cares convention in Williamsburg, Virginia. And it's this convention, it's at the Doubletree Hotel. Um, and we're walking around the convention, and Scares That Care is a wonderful nonprofit. They raise money for families. Um, they raise and sponsor about 3 to 4 families each year. One that is a family that has a child with terminal illness, one that has a family member that has a burn victim, one that is suffering from some pretty severe cancer, and then the fourth they'll kind of pick if they have extra money at the year. They'll pick out of those 3 categories again, and each of those families gets about $10,000 that they can do what they want. It's not earmarked to say it's got to go towards medical bills. You could take it and take your family to Disney World. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about it because sometimes you want to make memories, right?
Right.
Um, and so, we've partnered with them and worked with them for a couple years and helped raise money. And so we went to the convention, and I was walking around with my wife and our newborn son, and we're just walking through the convention, and we want to go to the second floor. So we start making our way to an elevator, and we see this man in this very bright orange T-shirt, and we watch as he enters into the elevator. The elevator door closes, and because we were assholes, no, just because we forgot, we immediately press the button. And so you know how like sometimes if you like the door closes, you press the button and the door opens again, and then you kind of have that awkward like what are you doing? Like couldn't you just wait for 10 seconds, let me go up? And then you kind of like have to shuffle onto the elevator, and then it's just really awkward. So usually you wait, right? You wait
Right.
a couple seconds, let the elevator start. Well, we didn't because we suck and we didn't time it. We weren't thinking. We just saw the man walk in, the door closed, we hit the button and the door opened. and there was nobody in the elevator at all. But both my wife and I very vividly watched this man in jeans and a bright orange t-shirt walk into this elevator. And
Mhm.
so I reached out and I talked to Brad actually from CPRI because they've also worked with them, and I spoke with Trisha, who's with Scares That Care, as well as Joe, their kind of organizer. Uh, and what's interesting is not that year, but a couple years back, their T-shirts for like their staff were bright orange,
Oh, okay.
and they did have a gentleman that who did volunteer there for a number of years, but he had passed away the year prior, and so this was the first one that he couldn't make it to. Now, am I saying that that's what we experienced? I don't know, but what I do know is we watched a guy walk into an elevator. Seconds later, we pressed the button. There was not enough time for that very slow elevator to make the way up to the second floor and then come back down to pick us up because we literally pressed the button, the door opened. There's no way. Um, so I don't know. I mean, is it that we're just not necessarily always paying attention because
Hmm.
we are so stuck and embedded and ingrained into our lives that we don't look around? Very quite possibly. Very quite possibly.
Very true. I mean, friends of mine, Raven Rose Paranormal, they were at Sally's house one year, and I like watching Facebook Lives because I put my ANC headphones on. It feels like you're actually there.
Hmm.
And so a friend of mine, Kim Purvis from REP Paranormal, she was in chat as well. And what they did is they just left the live going in the kids' room, and then they
Hmm.
said we're gonna go to supper. I'm like, all right, watch for us, see what happens. 15 minutes go by, and I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, hey, that sounds like Cynthia's voice downstairs in the kitchen, and I'm just like, this is weird. So I text them. I was like, "Are you still at the house? Or are you guys gone? We've been gone for 10 minutes already." Well, I just caught Cynthia's voice on Facebook here. So, uh, a unique experience like that, like you catch a doppelganger on Facebook Live,
Hmm.
you don't see it too often.
But I mean, it happens. I know we've run into that even at the tavern, where we'll, for example, up on the second floor is office spaces, and we've been investigating there for 12, 13 plus years. And every so often we'll run into something where, we'll go up to the offices. Typically we have all the offices locked and closed because we're not going to I don't like going through everybody's stuff. How's it going, Brian? Um,
Hey, Brian.
that's I feel like a person's office is their personal space. Like and so we typically avoid investigating, especially when we have a massive tavern to investigate. But we'll go up and this one evening we started hearing things up on the second floor. So we make our way up and we start making our way down the hall and we hear something behind this one door.
Mm-hmm.
And I knock
That's
on the
weird.
door and I said, "Hey, is anybody there?" And we record this EVP of somebody saying, "It's me, Tom." And the funny thing about that is our education director at the time, his name was Tom. And it sounded exactly like Tom, except it was probably 1 a.m. in the morning and Tom was at home in bed. So I we've recorded some pretty weird things. One of my favorites, one of my absolute favorites, actually. We were investigating this residential case in Richmond City. It was an apartment that somebody had asked us to come in and investigate. And Richmond, being the Confederate capital, right, of the U.S., has quite a breadth of history. Most of the buildings that are remaining were either, part of the Civil War, like part of the war effort, right? So manufacturing bullets or maybe pieces and parts for trains, locomotives, road ties, whatever, right? A lot of it could have been warehouses, and then a huge portion of it was hospitals, field hospitals, bringing folks back in from the war. And so we're investigating this one apartment that, um, this actually a friend of mine had called us and asked us to come out. She kept saying that she felt like there was this young girl that was in the apartment, just based off of some of the activity and feelings that she had. And so she wanted to know if she could interact with this little girl, and we were like, you know what, whatever, let's go out. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Hey,
Uh,
Mike.
and so we we went out to investigate, and she's like, I always feel like when I'm upstairs, because it was like one of these loft apartments. So up on the loft was where she slept, and so she's like, when I'm in my bed, she's like, I always feel like I see things. She's like, so maybe we can focus there. So we're like, okay. So through an EVP, an audio recorder on the bed, put just a K2, all the super basics, and we start just asking questions. And one of the questions that I ask is, can you tell me who you are?
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know, my friend here thinks that there's this little girl that's here with her. Can you confirm that? And swear to God, I shared this with her, and she got super creeped out. Uh, we record a response to that, and it is this deep, deep male saying, "Yes, I'm the little girl." And I was like, I'm out. I'm done. This is weird. Like I didn't realize at this point that, you know, like that was a thing that could still occur, but it sure was. And it was very creepy. Just the standpoint that this very deep manly, voice was like, "Yep, I'm a little girl." And I'm like, "Oh boy." Whew.
Well, I guess he was thinking ahead of time of what this generation is like.
It was odd. It was
Yeah.
odd.
So let's get into a little bit of so your very first investigation that you did. Um, so what kind of equipment did you use to start out with? Now as today you have a lot more stuff to play around with, obviously, but
Oh yeah.
what did you just go off of on your first investigation?
So, and I know Rob wants me to tell about our
Hey,
shoot at
Carmen.
Sweet Spring Sanatorium. That was nutty. So we can get into that for sure. How's it going, Carmen? Um, the very first pieces of equipment, I started off very basic. I went to Walmart. I bought myself a flashlight. I bought myself a Sony. I think it was like Panasonic or something, like just a really tiny little audio recorder. And I think that might have been it for my very, very first investigation. And then I purchased a K2, and I bought the K2 back before it was like this is a paranormal detective, piece of equipment, and they started and they really tried to push the K2 as a paranormal piece of equipment. Um, I bought it when it was literally used for detecting non-grounded wiring. Hey, Becky.
Hey.
And so it was used by electricians for electricians, and it was like $15, if that. And I'm like, man, I could have stockpiled on K2s and been a millionaire at the point, like the price that they are now. Like it's ridiculous
Oh
because
yeah, I think
they're not, they weren't
$60
that
a piece, I
much.
think.
They were never that much. It's just the demand has skyrocketed. So of course the price has gone up, but at the very beginning they were very, very cheap.
Hmm.
Um, and so
Tri-fields, you can't get those unless you get them from England.
Yep. And I love the tripod. I don't have one, but I have a buddy that has one, and I love it. And so that's where I started. Literally, that's where I started. And then I actually had a little pocket camera, like one of those little tiny ones, because I don't think my cell phone at the time took great pictures or anything, and I don't think it took video. So I had a tiny little digital camera. Um, and I was very lucky. My parents had bought me a pretty old camcorder, so I was able to film in God, I don't know. I don't even think it was 720p. It was pretty grainy. But it was the cheap stuff. Um, yeah, like Carmen said, I had a flashlight, cat ball, and tape recorder. That was it. Now it's all fancy equipment. Exactly. And you don't have to spend a lot of money, which is the
No.
kicker. Um, I think the biggest thing is I did what most folks do. I saw people with all the bells and whistles, and I was like, I need all the toys. And so I started buying stuff, right? And then I had like this massive amount of things that like I had to force myself to utilize during an investigation
Hmm.
because there wasn't enough time to frankly use all of it. And so I went through this phase of, okay, well, I've got a little bit of things, but I want a lot of things, and now I got a lot of things, and now I'm like, damn, I really don't need a lot of things. I need to just like use the things that really,
Start selling
work
it
with
off.
me. Yeah. Um. See, I like that, Andy. Andy had a cassette player, and you had to push play and record at the same time. I like it, Andy. OG. Uh. So you know, I went through that, and I bought a bunch of things. I built some things. Um, I went through all that sort of stuff, and now I'm kind of back to the basics. Um, I use, granted, it's a little bit fancier. I use a data logger. I use the um oh god, can't even think of it now. The EDI Plus for data
Oh yeah.
logging. Still looking at EMF, but I'm also looking at barometric pressure. I'm looking at all these sorts of things from a data perspective because I love to look at the data, right? Um, yeah, that's what I think too. Um, and then I'll use that. I use cameras. I did get a pretty nice Sony Handycam,
Hmm.
and that can film in zero lux. But the idea for me on that is I'm not necessarily as convinced that I'm going to be capturing anything or recording anything preternatural on it. I think my idea is personally, I want documentation of what I'm doing, and at least my own proof that I'm not making any of this up. If I'm recording something, I want to be able to, oh, it's my mom. Hi, mom. Um,
Hello.
I want to be able to, set a piece of equipment down, set a camera down, and point it towards it, and me myself try to stay within the frame, of that camera, so I can say, listen, this spiked. Obviously, I'm not doing anything to change that, right? So I use that audio recorder still. Granted, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's still an audio recorder. Um, and then I will look at now I'm kind of looking at based off of I like that. Everybody's saying hi to my mom. Um, Based off of findings that CPRI had, and just knowing now what I know from a scientific perspective, that things like black mold, radiation, those things that can build up in your basements, um, can create hallucinations. Whether that is, oh, it's Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Um, whether it's audible or visual hallucinations,
Hey,
we can still
not
experience
bad.
those things, right? And so I use a Geiger counter to detect, especially here in Virginia, because we have buildup of radon in the ground.
Hmm.
And so, you know, I want to see, okay, if I'm going into this and I'm having prolonged exposure to this radon, does that mean that the longer I'm here, the more and more and more I'm experiencing? Um, I'm sorry. I like Andy's. I'm sorry. Uh, because I think that a lot of what folks experience doesn't necessarily, I don't think it necessarily is out here. I think it's here, right? And I think
Right.
it's the environmental impact that we're experiencing. And so like folks that have black mold, right? You can have experiences because your brain is telling you that, right? Same with ionizing radiation.
Very
There
true.
you are. I was wondering, Brad. I've said your name. I've said CPRI like 5 times now,
Right.
Brad. I was like, somebody's got to tell this man that I'm talking about him. Um, so CPRI right there. That is Brad. And so that is the work that I'm trying to incorporate into our investigations now too. And so yeah, I'm kind of stemming a little bit, right? Utilizing some of that other pieces, but the things that I was talking about was more along the lines of I want to keep myself and my team safe. Like
Right.
I don't want to go in there and walk out with cancer. You know what I mean? Like
True. No,
so, that's what I'm looking at. And then I'm looking at the data and back to the basics for me. Back to the basics. I Some people like to use tons of different things, like the blinky light things. If you love it, hey, you love it. Maybe I'm not saying that you're not experiencing something. It very well could be some sort of experience. But what do I want to focus on myself? It's a lot of the data. I like to look at the data, and I like to look at the most basic stuff of, you know, here's an EVP that I've recorded, and here's something anomalous that I've found, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? It's a lot of stuff too. It's like, yeah, I use cat balls, I use digital voice recorders. I like the REM pods, but I also like to go outside the box a lot too. Like, a lot of people use Tesla coils.
Hmm.
Um, I like to use a thing like the dead bell. I like that. Um,
Yep, yep. That's the thing that Thomas beat me out on, by the way, and he calls me a cheapskate every time he sees me now. uh, but yeah, I'll probably be picking that up because Ghost Stop actually just moved to Lynchburg, which is just a little bit away from me.
yeah.
And I had the opportunity of meeting them, and they're wonderful folks. So I really want to get out there, and that's something I do want to mess around with. Um, a side note on that, and then well, Carmen, I'm not sure. I don't. I personally, um, I get lots of pretty good gut instincts, um, but I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm psychic, um, or a medium. If I'm a medium, I'm probably more along the small size. I like to joke with that because I always tell Rob, is Rob a medium or is he a large? And so, so I don't know. I mean, sometimes, and people are like, you could be, and I'm like, I don't know. Whatever, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, we
Um,
all got abilities. It just all
I think
depends
everybody
on
does. I think
where
everybody
it's
does have the
at.
ability. It's just, do you use it? And practice makes perfect. Whatever. Practice makes
Perfect.
perfect. Thank you. God, I'm like smelling toast over here. Oh, thank you, Heidi. Yeah, I did. Well, we did at Wildwood. We did some psychic stuff at Wildwood. Um, Absolutely. What was I don't even remember what I was talking about, to be honest with you.
Well, the psychicness of stuff. I mean, our abilities and stuff like that. I mean,
Oh
I'm more of
God.
numerology and stuff like that, but that happens not all the time. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's but a lot of times I do see ones and threes and fours, very little fives.
Well, I think the other thing is being aware of those things. I find often, if you're looking for it, you'll find it, right? And so, and I will kind of tie that a little bit into when we do, and actually the reason that I love to do an Estes method session versus just listening to a Ghost Box or Shack Hack, or fill in the blank, any of the boxes that just dump out words, right?
Right.
Because you know we might be experiencing periodola just because we are setting ourselves up for preconceived biasness,
Hmm.
right? One of the things that I always like to explain, and this is why, again, why I love doing an essays, is when we start asking questions, and I use this example, so anybody that has ever been on an investigation with me, you'll hear it and you'll probably just get angry at me, but um, I always use the I guess the example of, how old are you, right? We always want to ask that, how old are you, right? And what are you listening for immediately when you ask that?
A response, an
But
age.
but an age, right? A number. You're listening for a number. And so, you know, hi Jamie. I think the big
Hey,
thing there
Jamie.
is whether or not you understand it, you have already set a preconceived biasness for that answer. You are
Hmm.
listening for a number. And it doesn't matter if you heard four or fork, like the utensil, you have heard four, because we as humans love patterns. We love logic instead of chaos. right? And
Hmm.
that is the same reason why when you look up into the sky, instead of seeing clouds, you might be like, oh, you know what? That one looks like an elephant. There's really not an elephant in the clouds, right? I mean, there
Right.
could be, but by far and large, it's probably not. And so, you know, that is that periodola, right? That is audible periodola where we are setting ourselves up to experience or hear something. And I have seen that done on a really neat experiment that I participated in and helped in at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. Um, and I've seen it time and time again where we set ourselves up for this biasness. And that's why I love the Estes because, you know, hopefully most of you guys know what the Estes method session is. It's where you use the noise canceling headphones so you can't hear the questions that are being asked. And therefore you separate the questions from the answers.
Correct.
And when you are able to get some answers that contextually make sense with the questions being asked, to me, that is far more worth its weight in gold than everybody huddling up to a spirit box. Now, on the flip side, I know if Brad is still listening, he's got some interesting ideas around that too, where even though we can't necessarily hear the questions, there is still a connection that we're still building in a little bit of that biasness. I do think that if I can't hear it, I can't see it, it helps a lot. But definitely, if you're sitting there and everybody's like, "You hear that? I think I heard five," and everybody else is like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I heard five too." Then guess what? We've all heard five. So you know, it
A-
has its pluses and minuses, but
And that's where I think that the digital voice recorder off to the side when you're doing those sessions are a great useful tool,
one
because
hundred
then you
percent.
could definitely catch it if even though if you don't think you heard it, you know.
Oh
Um.
man, that was a creepy one, Heidi.
Uh. So let's get into the thing that Rob wanted to talk about, the sanatorium, real quick.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Sweet Spring Sanatorium. It is an amazing location. It is in Sweet Springs, West Virginia. So about 30 minutes outside of Roanoke. Um, and it is probably a little bit further, probably like 45 minutes, but it is out there. You are out there in the sticks, you are out there in the boonies. Um, I remember the first time going up there. Cindy, the paranormal kind of like director liaison there, she does a great job up there, by the way. And Ashby, the owner, everybody up there is great. Um, but Cindy warned me. She's like, "Hey, make sure you set your GPS and plan to have no signal for like 30 minutes radius outside of Sweet Springs." And she was right. Uh, you get zero signal once you get up there, and that's that. You pull up, you get on site. They have a little bit of Wi Fi, so you're able to kind of connect, but it is out there. Um, you don't really need to worry about anybody just kind of like pulling up or, even like driving down the road past the place because there is not a whole lot out there. And I remember when we were filming, we had to actually bring in all of our food and everything because there is like no restaurants, there's no grocery stores, no nothing out there. So we are isolated. We are way out there, and we're at this massive sanatorium. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely crazy active. I have never been to a more active location to date. And what's going on? How's it going, Ed? Why is it Ed? I thought it was what? Do you go by Ed now, Howie? You need to answer that for me, sir. Um, so we're out at Sweet Spring Sanatorium and we're filming. Um, this is okay. Well, I'll call you Ed now. Oh, it's my Greneyes. It's my family. It's my Greneye fam. Um, and so Uh, we are out there. We're filming. This is my very first time filming with the Ghost Finders. By the way, this is my very first episode. I have no idea what to do, and I'm like standing there. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands, kind of deal. And you know, clear as day, I remember this. I am filming. Melody and I are filming right outside of the cafeteria on the main floor, and Dan and Jose and Cindy and Max are upstairs on the second, third, one of the higher floors, and they're filming, and they're just doing an interview. They're just interviewing Cindy, talking to her about the experiences she's had of the building, et cetera, et cetera. Melody and I are downstairs just kind of scoping the place out, trying to make sure that, okay, if there are any locations that we probably shouldn't go or it's not safe for us, or maybe if we go that we need to wear some like N95 masks, anything like that, right? We're filming, doing our thing. They're filming. All of a sudden, we hear just screaming, lots of loud noises coming from way off in the building. And so, you know, we radio up and we're like, "Hey, everybody okay? Like we're filming. Is everybody all right?" Um, and we don't get anything. We hit the radio again. "Hey, everybody okay? Like we're trying to film. Hard to film when everybody's screaming. You guys all right? Like what's going on?" Uh, and finally, we get kind of like this crackled, Max, and she's responding that, something's happened. Jose's been attacked. Um, Meet us back at HQ. So I'm like freaking out. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And so we start heading to where we heard them. And, by the time we get there, they're already back at HQ. So we run back to HQ, and Jose is sitting in this folding chair. And Rob and Megan and Cindy and I don't even know who else, Max, they're praying over Jose. And he is like shaking uncontrollably and he is way out of it. And so, very first thing I'm like, okay, does he have a medical past, medical history, anything like this that we need to be aware of? And we do our due diligence on the show. So like we have to make sure, okay, does anybody have anything? We need to make sure everybody's aware of this and is open, so that we can rely on each other if shit hits the fan, essentially, right? And he had none, squeaky clean, right? No past medical history that would denote seizures or anything like that. So he finally kind of slows down and he just kind of like is in a catatonic state, but just chilling. That's when we realized that all of the camera equipment is still upstairs. We left it all. Well, we come to find out, and well, me come to find out because Dan and all of them were up there with him. He is standing on one side of the hallway filming, right? And he's got his camera, and Jose has got some very very expensive camera equipment. Like this is the big league expensive equipment. Like this ain't like the little piddly stuff that I carry around. This is like some really nice stuff. He's standing there filming, and he said he started kind of like zoning out a little bit, right? And the next thing he knows, he is across the other side of the hallway. He was literally tossed from one side of the hallway to the other side of the hallway, where he fell to the floor and started, for lack of a better term, seizing.
Jeez.
And, you know, he was out of it. He was just shaking. Max was trying to like, get him to breathe, calm him down a little bit, et cetera, et cetera. And, all of his camera equipment is scattered all over the floor, like absolutely everywhere. And so we go up, we pick it all up, and I'm not going by myself at this point. I was like, I'll go up there. I'll for sure go up there, but somebody's coming with me. So there's like four of us that go to get all the equipment. We bring all the camera equipment down and we start reviewing the footage because we had one camera facing towards Cindy, another the other way, right? So we actually were able to record a fair amount of what occurred. And it's wild. It's absolutely wild. We're sitting there looking at it, and I turn around, Sweet Spring Sanatorium, Mike. I turn around and I just check on Jose, and Jose is staring at me like a deer in headlights. He's just wide eyed. And so I walk over to him and I'm like, "Hey man, you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I just want to go down." And I'm like, "Down?" I said, like, you wanna lay on the ground in here, Jose? It's like, I can help you get on the ground if you need to. Are you all right? And he's like, "No, I need to go to the basement. I need to go down." And I'm like, "No, no, you don't." And keep in mind, Jose had not been to the basement yet. when we got there, we started rolling immediately. And the very first thing that we do is we film a walkthrough. And so we do the walkthrough, we do interviews. And so all of that occurred on the first and second floors. He
Hmm.
had not been to the basement whatsoever. So I'm like, what's the, like you just got thrown across the room and now you want to go to the basement. That's great. And so I'm like, hey Jose, I said, I'm not gonna take you to the basement. I said, how about we go outside? And so at that point, Rob and Megan noticed, and so we grabbed a side. I grabbed one side, somebody else grabbed the other, and we walked him outside. And we set him down on a park bench, directly, like right, not like it's still on the property, because Sweet Springs on a massive property, but it's right off of the blueprint of the building.
Hmm.
And so, we get out there. It's not too terribly cold, but it's pretty chilly. How's it going on SPS? It was pretty chilly, and so he is shaken and he's like, I'm freezing, I'm freezing, I'm freezing. So he takes my jacket, Megan's jacket, Max's jacket, Heather's jacket. I think he's got Dan's jacket and Rob's jacket. Like, this dude is layered. This guy is layered upon layers. He's like a burrito at this point. And so he is still shaking. And Max and Megan start preying on him, with him again. And all of a sudden he doubles over and he starts drawing something into the gravel. And we're sitting at the picnic bench. He's drawing something in the gravel, and then he starts like hawking up this. I don't even know how to explain it. It was the weirdest thing. He starts like hawking this thing up, this liquid. It gets out. He sits up, and it's Jose again. And I'm like, "You okay, buddy?" And he's like,
Jeez.
"Yeah." He's like, "This is the weirdest experience ever." And so he he was done. Like, at that point, we had already said, "Hey, we're gonna stop filming, at least for the rest of the day, because we need to figure out what's going on here. Like, this is important." And so we had already like decided we need to take care of him. And so, we talked with him a little bit, and he kind of came to a little bit more. And so, he was obviously, he didn't want to go back upstairs or anything, but he was okay going back into the building just to, get some warmth. And so he went back into the HQ, which is that very first room when you walk in, and he crashes on the couch for a little bit. And so we just kind of sat around and talked and reviewed some of the video and everything. And then we kind of came up with the idea of, maybe we go and confront this, not in a negative aspect, but, hey, you need to understand, like, that's not okay. You can't do
Right.
that. If you're trying to express yourself, if you're trying to communicate, that's okay, but maybe not in such a violent manner. And so Jose wakes up and he wants to go. He wants to go and confront this so long as everybody's there. And so we all go, and we do this session with Dan's geobox, and this thing comes through that it basically just wanted to do it because it wanted to scare the shit out of Jose. It wanted to scare the shit out of us. It was okay that we got scared, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, we kind of said, okay, well, we're not, we're gonna go ahead and close this session out. And we sat there and we prayed. And in our we all have different religions, right? But we all did our own thing to pray, to kind of like, say, hey, listen, don't don't be this way. Don't be an
Right.
asshole.
Right. Right.
And then it kind of cleared out, and it didn't feel as negative, and just, I guess, pressing as it did for the rest of the weekend that we were there. Um, Jose, after he did that, he ended up heading back to the house that we were staying at, right there on the property. He crashed, went to sleep, got up the next morning, didn't remember anything. After he remembers going upstairs and filming Cindy, that's the last thing he remembered.
Wow.
And so we were like, "Hey, listen, we did all this, and then you did this, and you wanted to do that." He's like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "I don't remember any of this." Uh, but it was wild. It was an eye opening experience, because for a lot of the time in the field prior to that, hey Kelly, how are you? Um, didn't have anything quite as crazy or as scary. Um, no, he didn't remember anything. It was
Jeez.
weird, and so we had to kind of fill him in. Like it was as if he
Okay.
blacked out. How's it going, Ronnie? Uh, it was eye opening for sure, and so um, it kind of to me reiterates the need to know the people that you're with and know that they have your back, right? Like I wouldn't just walk into an abandoned building or a paranormal location and investigate with strangers anymore. Like
Right.
I did that college Steve when I first started getting into the field, and then I realized that like these folks don't know me. I don't know if when the lights go out they're gonna have my back or if they're gonna try to pickpocket me. Like not to be like horrible, but I don't know. And so you know there is a lot of safety and reassurance going with people that know you, that know your personality, your characteristics. So when you just start displaying not those things,
Hmm.
they know it's time for you to get out, and it's time for them to get out if it's vice versa.
Right.
And so that's why I will always say don't go alone. You want to go into this room right here alone, sure, but I'm standing on the other side of that wall. You know what I mean? Um, I get some of the challenges and the fear and all that, but if you
Gotta
get
protect you first.
yeah, if you get attacked or God forbid you fall and you hit your head,
Hmm.
and you can't call anybody, you can't hit the radio and call for somebody. I don't know, you know
Yeah.
that just scares me.
No,
Or trust mileage into the woods. Yeah, Andy driving us 10 miles out into Gettysburg, and we're like 30 minutes later up in the foothills. And he took us on a Sasquatch hunt. And I told Annie, I said, and I don't have a like I didn't bring anything to catch the squatch. I'm not gonna hunt the squatch. I just want to watch the squatch. So we had a
right.
squatch watch.
Oh, jeez. Um. So I got a few questions before we start wrapping up here.
Sure.
We'll definitely have a part two because there's lots more to cover yet as well, and a lot of folks are coming in tonight. So,
Ronnie says, everybody. Oh
um,
God. that was
so
that was great, Ronnie.
so
Scared
normally
the
I
crap out
ask
of him.
for a bucket list, but I feel that gets over used too much. Uh, so instead of a bucket list, if you had 1 week to spend at one location, where would it be and why?
Oh my God. Anywhere in the world, Poveglia Island. Um, reason for that is there is just so much emotion tied to that location. There's so much myth and legend and lore tied to this location. It's an island in Italy, and they would send folks that had the plague to this island. Prior to that, it was in a sanatorium. All these sorts of things. I love the fact that out of all the locations, Poveglia is entirely remote. There is nobody else out there with you. You are there with yourself, and that's it. And so, from a contamination aspect, you have none. Um, and I'm a big believer that a location has activity not because of deaths that are associated with it, but because of the high emotional toll or attachment that somebody might have to a location. And I think it would be just so amazing to unpack and experience some of the stories of the folks that may have been there, just kind of not even of their own free will and accord, right? They were sent there. There was
Hmm.
an episode, I believe, that was Ghost Adventures. It might have been. I think there was somebody that had been there,
Yeah,
and I
Ghost
was
Adventures is there.
incredibly jealous. Um,
Years ago, though.
I would I don't I don't know what I wouldn't do to go to Poveglia Island. Like I don't know. If somebody was like, "Listen, you can go, but I need you to cut off your left pinky," I'd be like, "I need a sharp knife." So
I mean,
you
how would
know,
you even prepare for something like that? I mean, it's just
I
that'd be
don't
hard to
know.
prepare for,
I would need to bring like somebody that knows how to camp very well.
right? Right.
but I think it would be absolutely phenomenal to go and experience it. Um, I just I think it would be so interesting to share some of the stories and experiences of the folks there, and I think the emotional, not only the emotional attachment, but I also think that lots and lots and lots of emotional attachment to a location can bring in other things, and I think that it would be very interesting to experience that, and just I guess be a part of that, something very different and unique that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do.
Right. I was waiting for you to say Doll Island, but I would say screw that.
I mean, that's a close second too. I don't do dolls. I hate
I don't either.
dolls. Um, Becky Galantine, she sent me a video of two dolls that were sent to her, uh, just very recently. That one of them like opened its mouth on camera, just while they were there at home, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna bring it to," because we just had the Hanover Tavern Paracon, and she was one of our special guests, and she's like, "I'm gonna bring it to the conference," and I said, "That's fine, but if that thing's in my car at the end of the night, I'm gonna run it over." Like I do not do dolls. Like those things creep me out, man. Like I don't know, Wildwood had that doll room, and I'm like, no, I can't do dolls. Like and then somebody's like, "Well, I dare you to sleep in there." I'm like, no, because like, what happens when you wake up and they're all staring at you? Like, what are you gonna do?
Punk
Or
the
like
shit out of
they've
all of them.
circled you. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know. Maybe with their tiny little doll hands, they try to strangle you. Like I don't. I just can't do dolls. Can't do
Well,
dolls.
my
I'll
friend,
visit during the daytime.
my friend Kim Purvis, she's got like 256 or 250 over 250 porcelain dolls in her house.
Uh-uh. No, those little they just stare at you. The little
Yeah,
beady eyes. They just stare at you. Rhonda on our team has lots of dolls, and I can't do it,
I,
man.
I said no, no.
Mm-mm.
Um, so the next question I have on hand here, after I keep up with
Yeah,
our
I
comments
wouldn't
here.
sleep in there, Andy. I wouldn't sleep in there.
um, so if there's one object, what I should say, what's one object in the whole world that you never want to be haunted?
And I would never want to be haunted.
Yes, could be anything.
Hmm. Gosh, I don't know. That's a good one. Um, can I go big?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, my house. Can I say that? Is that safe? Is that a safe choice? Okay, I'm gonna go with my house. Because my wife loathes the paranormal stuff.
Okay,
She does not like it when I bring anything home.
right,
And so like for example, back here I've got pieces and parts of Fleetwood Church, Hinsdale House. There are things that folks have given me of other locations, and she's like, "I swear to God, you better not bring that into the house." And I'm like, I'm not gonna bring it into the house," and it's right there. um but but
no, it's not. It's right there.
it's not, it's
We
not.
have to have a talk after this show.
There are some things that are in the shed because they are definitely not. Like I could not get them into the house.
Hmm.
I think from a safety standpoint, I would say my house just because having a 7-year old and a 2-year old, I don't want them to be afraid here. I If they want to explore the paranormal, that's fine, but I want them to find their way to it. Does that
Hmm.
make sense? Like I want them to explore their passions.
Right.
This is my passion that doesn't need to be my kid's passion. And
Right.
so I don't want anything that I do to impact them in any way. I don't want to bring home my work, if that makes sense.
Nope.
And
Makes
so
perfect sense.
I don't want that to happen. Paul, yes, I have. Um, Actually, one of the places I brought something home was Swananoa, and Lunar Paranormal, and Doc investigate up there on Afton Mountain, and we investigated a one of the tiny, like a guest house. It was a gift shop at one point, and all these sorts of things. I can't say too much because it was pretty negative, and every time we talk about it, for whatever reason, it loves to come back. but brought something home then. I've also brought something home from the tavern one time because I was very adamant of investigating our executive director's office because he keeps having things occur in his office, like things moving around and whatnot. And so I was like, well, I am going to set up a camera. And I told Dave, our executive director, this in his office at the tavern. And I got home that night and this young girl whispered into my ear. I can't remember. It was something like "leave me alone" or something like that. And I'm like, I knew at an instant. I knew exactly what it was. I was like, because for whatever reason, we believe that this entity stays in that room because we don't investigate it. I don't like to go and investigate people's offices because that's where they got all their private stuff and financials and all that, and I don't want to chance that. And so we typically don't do that or film in those places. And so I was like, I'm gonna film in there. She's like, you better not. And that was it. She was gone. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll learn my lesson on that one. Um,
Wow.
it's a cool place, Paul. It's a cool place. They do public investigations every so often. I have not been in years and years and years, many, many, many years. But I loved it when I was there. And I think it would be really, it's a really, if nothing else, it is a beautiful place. For those that live in Richmond, they know the Dooley Mansion here at Maymont. So they know of the Dooley family, and they built this beautiful marble palace up on Afton Mountain here in Virginia, and it is crazy, very very beautiful. So highly recommend it to check it out if you get a chance. Never film
Absolutely.
anything again after a break from Penhurst. You should come down,
So,
Mike. Yeah, for sure.
so what do you got coming up, and how can people get a hold of you?
Gosh, what do we have coming up? So this weekend, I know our team is working with the Louisa County Parks and Rec. We're going to be investigating a public investigation fundraiser for Trevilian Station House and the Netherland Tavern. That's a fundraiser for them. That's sold out, from what I'm told, and it's going to be a fun night. Um, March 9th. It's not announced yet. So you're hearing it first here, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, we are going to be investigating. This is a place we investigated a couple years ago, and I can't tell you how many folks here locally want to go back and have been dying to go back. And we finally were able to get the stars aligned one more time, and March 9th will be public investigating the Cold Harbor battlefield, and then we're going to investigate the Hanover Tavern after that. So it's going to be a two-part investigation. We're going to start at Cold Harbor battlefield. We're going to investigate that for about an hour and a half, and then we're going to come to the tavern and investigate there for an hour and a half. So it's going to be a long night. It's going to be very cold, probably because it will be, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And this is only the second time ever that folks have been able to get access to Cold Harbor Battlefield to investigate. You investigate the Poe Museum. That is a cool place. I love the Poe Museum. I'm jealous. I tried to reach out to investigate there a while back, but there was a very expensive fee tied to that, and I was like, I ain't got the money for that. Ain't nobody got the money for that. So I am jealous, Mike. I love the Poe Museum, and I love their programs and everything they do down there. So that's a great opportunity. But yeah, March 9th, we're gonna have tickets up. I actually told them I was gonna work on the ticketing and all that tonight, but whatever, we'll get there. But that's coming up March 9th, and then we'll be at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash in July, and we've got a lot going on
Oh,
coming up. I've got to get the flyers and all that out, but you will see some stuff for there. We're going to be partnering up with the old hospital on College Hill in West Virginia, and I believe that's August. Um, I know that we have plans to do another public investigation at the Octagon Mansion in Withville with the Cushmans, and they're wonderful folks. So gonna try to get that lined up. I don't know, where's Ghost City? It sounds interesting. Sounds like there's a lot of ghosts there in Ghost City. Andy, you gotta give me some deets, sir. I'm in. I'm in like chicken din, man.
uh, how could they get a hold of you on Facebook, Messenger, Gmail?
Yeah. Oh, yes, Andy. We need to get a date. Send me some dates. Let's make a date out of it, Andy. Send me some dates. Let's do it. I want to do it. I want to come and hang out. Um, Andy's got a really kick-ass store in Gettysburg. Um, but yeah, folks, get in touch with me. Transcend Paranormal on Facebook. So if you want to reach out to me and my team, it's Transcend Paranormal. You can also find me just Steve Dills. I'm the weird one. And let's see, transcendparanormal.com. You can also reach out to me on Eerie Encounters on Facebook, as well as the Ghost Finders on Facebook. If you want to email me, it is dillssm@gmail.com. So that's my Gmail.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
lovely and weird, Kelly. Lovely and weird. No, just kidding.
Oh, wow, it's
So
been a
lots of ways, and then folks can always message me. Feel free to always message me. I have a ridiculous backlog of like friend requests, so I am really sorry. Um, I haven't gotten around to that. But send me a message if you friend request me so that I know you're not a bot, and then I will accept you as a friend. We can be friends.
yeah.
Um, he's got my fans. I recommend. Yeah. Check out my OnlyFans. Uh, that's how I buy new equipment.
Oh boy. Well, what about those Stanley Cups too? Don't you sell those for people?
Oh God, people are going crazy over them damn things. I don't understand. I do not understand why. Kelly, I hate feet. Feet are the worst part of the human body ever. Ugh, they're so gross. I don't understand the Stanley Cup, like thing. I guess I don't
Yeah, it's a
know.
status thing. My daughter just told me that they're all made out of lead, so people are drinking out of lead
I
now.
saw that, but I'm not sure if like I saw that on Facebook. So, and I'm like 75% of what I see on Facebook is bullshit. I'm sorry, but I'm not entirely sure. So I did see that. I don't know, but I'm not gonna pay overpriced for a damn cup. It's
No.
just a cup. Like you can get like the off-brand Yetis, and even Yetis have come down in price a little bit, but the
Oh
off-brand
yeah.
ones are just as great, man.
Yep.
So I don't know, whatever. I'm getting old, Dara. That's what's happening. I'm getting old.
Hey,
Like maybe
I'm up
young Steve
there.
would have been like, I'm getting a Stanley, but like, no, I'm just.
I always when I see him, I say, "Hey, nice trophy. How'd you
Yeah,
do to win that?"
exactly.
My kids just look at me like it's not a trophy. Well,
This
they
year's
call it a
Stanley
Stanley
Cup,
Cup. It's a trophy.
small and pink.
Yeah, I see how they like that in the National Hockey League.
See, person had a car burn up in the Stanley Cup. Yeah, but was like one of the new pink ones or one of them OG? That's why it went crazy. Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Huh?
Hmm.
I feel like the Yetis would do that too, though.
Oh, they'll be coming out with their stuff. Yeah.
Let me go set my car on fire and put my Yeti cup in it and see what happens.
Right. Right. Wow, this is a fantastic interview. I greatly appreciate you coming on. We'll have a part two, getting some more stuff about gear and all that stuff.
For sure.
Um, and yeah, remember you've been watching the Paranormal Brew and BB3 TV networks. And if you don't have Facebook, you could join me on MGS Paranormal on YouTube. Uh, Once again, Steve, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And everybody else, you all have a good night. And thank you for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun, a lot of neat, new people get to see in chat, which I always love. You guys make up the show as well.
Look who
So,
just made it.
hey, Taryn.
Thanks for coming, Taryn. Hi, bye. Well, thank you for inviting me on, Darren, and thank you everybody for hanging out and joining us. Appreciate it as always.
Absolutely. Well, I'll see you guys next week, I believe. Well, maybe. I don't know. I have to think about
Aw,
that.
I love you too, Taryn. I'll be seeing you soon. July's coming, man. You just need to drive
Actually,
down to Virginia, Taryn. Is what you got to do.
I believe was it the what's after the 5th, February 5th. I can't think of 7 days.
The
Oh
6th.
no, is the 12th?
I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know. The
yeah.
12th.
I'm talking too much. Okay,
The
the
12th.
Monday after the 5th, the very next Monday after the 5th, I have Kara Phillips on. So join us for that, and it'll
Very,
be
very
a
cool.
lot of fun. So So long, everybody. Have a great week.
Good night, everybody.